Welcome to Wanna Bet, the daily gambling game show that takes betting seriously, but not much else. Get our favorite plays on the totals, sides, props, exotics, and futures to jump on now.
So let's get it started with Jason and Ben. Let's get it started with Jason and Ben. Let's get it started with Jason and Ben. Så det kostar kärlek, konstigt, bara konstigt, felina. Let's get it started with Jason and Ben. Let's get it started with Jason and
Hey. Let's get it started. Indeed, I'm Jason. That's Ben. We're Wanna Bet. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. We do this 7 days a week. I'm going to guess it's going to be around 345 days in our first year, which began May 21st. Maybe a little more, possibly a little less. I don't think it'd be much less. We'll have to plan a big anniversary show in May. That's almost exactly a month after my birthday. So there we go. Birthday month.
Big 2 months. Big 2 months.
Yeah, that's a lot. Let me tell you. Yeah, birthdays around here for me are a really big deal. I forget how old I am quite often. What we don't forget is how to bet on these games, again, 7 days a week. We show all our work here. We try to walk you through our strategies, what's working, what's not. We're trying to foster a smarter betting community here. We try to course correct. We try to self-scout. We're constantly trying to find value, angles, way to play these games that we think we can profit from. We also show all our work in terms of full transparency. Every bet's logged. Every bet is graded. And here you are. That's where we are. That's where we are since we launched our first show with Katie Mox on May 21st. How about Bayern Munich barely forging a 2-2 draw with bottom of the table Mainz? I guess they had their eyes on the winter break. I can understand that. But that bet was doomed really in the first half. Dak Prescott, couldn't figure that one out. We were talking about it off air. I mean, Minnesota does not allow passing touchdowns. You can run for touchdowns on them, but probably not pass. We didn't have to sweat that out too much. Mahomes, we did have to sweat it out. He threw the interception, probably one of the last things he did in this calendar year and most of next calendar year on a football field. Devastating state of affairs for Mahomes. Look, I had an awful day in soccer yesterday. Couldn't get 3 total goals in the Leeds match with Brentford. Couldn't get our guy Thiago on the score sheet. So yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle. What really hurt me yesterday more than anything else, though, Ben, was the Cincinnati football Bengals not showing up on offense. Joe Burrow playing a vacant, soulless, uninspired. Looked like a guy who didn't want to be there after talking in the middle of the week. Like a guy who didn't want to be there. I should have taken him up on that. I should have believed him when he told me he's not having fun and he's frustrated and he hates everything. When he sounded like the lead singer from a shitty 90s emo band, and not a real emo band. Not like Rites of Spring, probably the original emo band. Look them up, kids. But like tepid mainstream bullshit, I should have believed him because he didn't want to be on that frigid football field, and he got embarrassed in a way I've frankly never seen him embarrassed on a football field. That was a quit job by the Bengals offense, and unfortunately, I had a lot of money on them to look like they did in Baltimore 2 weeks before that. Beltway, Ben, your weekend, kind sir? Maybe one. That was fun.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was very fun to be at. Shout out to everybody involved there. Jimmy, Daniel, everybody. That was a great Saturday. But Sunday didn't really go. I mean, the Ravens won. I'm a Ravens fan. That was good. But other than that, I mean, I had tough going. Woody Marks, we did mention to you guys, if only they could handicap that he might leave the game early with an injury. That's the only thing that scares me with his props. Now, depending where you bet, you could have got the early exit for one of them, but fantasy points, you don't get that. And I learned that the hard way yesterday. So we did lose that. We did say take him for a touchdown. He did score a touchdown. That was at least good. He cashed. We had Green Bay on the money line, -115. Felt great there. We also had a parlay with Green Bay at Carolina. And at halftime of both of those games, I'm sitting here saying, all right, well, this might be a plus 550 cash. It would flip the whole weekend. I would have finished up pretty big. and both of those two teams lose. So I did say with Carolina, like this feels like a fishy
Yep.
line. I can't believe it's here. But again, I bit the bait and kind of looked dumb. We lost. I mean, the Bears Browns game, I couldn't have read it worse. The Browns are an absolute clown show, and it continued. It just was. Judkins didn't get many touches. They were throwing it all over the field, and Chicago did their part of running the ball. I also thought there was going to be more snow and sleet. I did see we had a commenter say that they were in Chicago and didn't see any snow when I was saying it, so I read the wrong report. But again, it is what it is. It wasn't a good day at all, to be quite honest, but we will bounce back in a big way soon. We're going to get back to 50 soon. I can promise you that.
One other thing here before we give you guys our bets of the day. First, second, third down, 3 favorite bets we made since yesterday. Fourth down can be fourth and long or fourth and short. Longest reception, long-term bets, long shot bets, or first quarter, first period, first half bets. That would be a fourth and short to get you paid quickly. Overtime, we give you a football or football parlay every day. Ben, you can put us back up. Thank you, sir. One other thing in terms of bad beats. So we do the show yesterday. It's half hour before Bayern Munich is kicked off, or 45 minutes. And I'm scrambling between the show that I do in the morning for BetMGM and our show. And everything I'd read all morning on a lot of websites was that the 17-year-old Leonard Cole was not going to be in the lineup. In fact, you could not find Leonard Cole odds anywhere. I mean, you can get the backup center back to come on the pitch and score an anytime goal. You can't get this 17-year-old who's lighting up Champions League when he gets opportunities and look like he should be due to start this match. Logic, but company wouldn't say it. And all the German websites I look at, no one has Cole in the projected 11. And I say on this, if Cole gets in this match, he's going to score. Now, look out, try to find odds. We get done the show. My dogs are going crazy. Gigi was on the show a little bit. I don't know if you can hear her. I take them for a walk. I'm watching the game as I walk. First goal of the match, Leonard Cole, who starts and scores, and you couldn't bet on it. How is that possible in the year 2025?
Any way to prevent you from making money.
Is that collusion?
I think so.
How is that possible?
I think it is.
If you heard me say that and you found a market that had the kid out there and you bet him, please want to bet with us at gmail.com. So he scores. And now I'm trying to see, well, clearly they're going to add him. Like, I'm hitting refresh. I'm getting out of Bet365. I'm going back into Bet365. I'm tripping on the ice with my dogs. I'm trying to still watch the match. I'm looking at DK. I'm going everywhere. Well, now he's scored in the freaking game. Like, he'll probably go the full 90 or close to it. Someone's going to give me a chance to bet on this kid to score again. I couldn't find it. I wonder if he works his, even though he's not seeing regular action for Bayern Munich, I wonder if he works his way into the German squad for the World Cup. I wonder if because that was not an official Mineshaft in World Cup qualifying. I wonder if that kid starts playing more out of the winter break, and I wonder if he gets himself to the Copa.
Did he end up scoring again?
No. It was 2-2. They had a Harry Kane late PK to salvage a draw with Mainz at home in the Alliance Arena. They hadn't given up 2 at home all year. Winter break's coming. We're going to be off Bundesliga for a while. But remember that name. That kid's the truth. All right, first down. I've wasted enough time here. I know what you guys are really here for. You're here for Wofford Gardner-Webb, baby. And why wouldn't you be? Look, we're just going to keep fading Gardner-Webb. I played this minus 9.5 yesterday at minus 108. It's gone. It's 10.5 everywhere. So for the purposes of this show, let's buy it at 132. Keep the minus 9.5. Do I think Watford wins by 12.5 or more? I do. Did I also play minus 12.5 yesterday on an alt line when I got the 9.5? I did. Gardner-Webb is 2-8 against the spread, Beltway, Ben. They lose on average by 25 points a game. They fail to cover on average by 7.6 points per game. 9 of their 11 losses are by 10 points or more. Hence, we're going under that. They are 360th in opponents' EFG. 339 against the 3 ball and 359 against the 2 ball. They can't rebound. And as best I can tell, and I've watched them twice, I don't think there's a point guard on their roster. I really don't think there's a primary facilitator on the Gardner-Webb roster. If you disagree, again, hit us up in the comments. Wofford's not a great team by any stretch of the imagination, but they're routinely scoring 80 points or more, which is going to be more than enough, I think, to cover this number. And they don't turn the ball over. I think if they were sloppy with the ball, if they weren't in the top 60 Ken Palm in turnover rate, I might have some concern about a number this big with a team, again, in Wofford that's no great shakes. But Gardner-Webb might be one of the 15 worst teams on this, well, I was going to say this planet. That's not true. In NCAA, of the 365 in men's Division I college basketball, they might be outside the 350 in just overall level of play. Like, they haven't looked great against some D2 teams. I think Wofford can win this by 10, by the way. I actually think Wofford can win this by 15.
Well, we're going to go to the NFL. We'll stick there for the majority. We do have an NBA play on second down that we'll get to, but a lot of the plays, I do like a solid amount in this NFL game. So we'll start here. Pat Freiermuth over 14.5 receiving yards, which you can find at -110. And we're also going to take him over 1.5 receptions at -160. We're paying some juice there, but if he's going to go over either, they'll both cash. The Dolphins are allowing 72 receiving yards to tight ends over their last 6 games. That's the 5th most in the NFL. They're also allowing close to 7 receptions per game, which is also the 5th most in the NFL. When you look at what Freiermuth has done this year, it's been up and down, and lately it's been more down than up. Last week, when Darnell Washington went down, Freiermuth out-snapped Jonnu Smith, and Jonnu Smith was a guy that we played a lot. We were going after him a bunch of different ways earlier in the year because I thought that he would fit this offense a little bit better and they'd get him the football more.
Tennessee played with Arthur Smith, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. He was spent time in Atlanta, spent time in Tennessee, a lot of time together, and you're telling me that there's nothing there. If you're not close with Aaron Rodgers, you're probably screwing the offense. Freiermuth, not sure what the relationship is, but a lot of people in that town have been speaking that they want to see more of him and that he should be getting more looks. Now, this is 2 catches. Like 2 receptions and 15 yards. They both work with 2 catches. If he catches 2 balls, he will go over the 14.5. He's not catching 2 3-yard passes. I know sometimes Rodgers tries to get it out quick. Yeah. But when you look at this Dolphins defense and how they've struggled, they've been really good against the run. They've been really good in a lot of different areas. Tight ends have been the position to beat them. Darnell Washington's returning from the concussion injury. I would think that he plays more snaps than both Jonnu Smith and Freiermuth, but we know that they go with a lot of 2 tight end sets. I think they might lean a little bit more into Freiermuth in this one and try to get more out of, the better receiving tight end from what we've seen. Like Jonnu Smith, there's been drops. We've heard Aaron Rodgers publicly talk so down on him and be extremely odd. Usually when you get into that area, there's not going to be many targets going his way. I just feel like, and I was really close. I was really close to going back to Jonnu Smith because it's the revenge spot. He was in Miami, all those things. Couldn't do it based off what he's done for us this year. So
you yellow carded yourself.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Has anybody been red carded off this show except for Alexander Isak?
James
and
Franklin.
The Swedish men's national team, who still could qualify for the World Cup, despite being absolute shite in World Cup qualifying because they were good in the Nations League. Sweden could still end up in the Copa.
James Franklin, Penn State James Franklin. He got red.
So he's back to life with Vatek.
We'll see how. Yeah, we'll see. Listen,
he's
they played Maryland. They played
like
Maryland
Aaron
early
Rodgers
in the year
against the Ravens last week. He's out of the coffin.
They played Maryland early in the year, and James Franklin seems to always have his guys ready to go against Maryland. It is locks time of the year.
Locks is month.
It is. That is true. That is true.
Good luck fading locks in September. Unfortunately for him, there's only 2 or 3 football games played in the month of September. All right, second down. We've got a Premiership match in Old Trafford today, and we like it. So Bournemouth Cherries, our Bournemouth Cherries. We like the Bournemouth Cherries. We like watching Tyler Adams play. We like watching Patrick Kluivert kid play. Yeah, they're a fun team, especially on the road. Bournemouth at the Red Devils. We're going over 2.5 goals in this match. And Bruno Bruno Fernandes to get a goal or an assist. That'll get us plus 110. Look, we've been talking about Bournemouth on the road all season. Batshit crazy games. Bournemouth road games in the Premiership average 4.3 total goals per game. 6 of their 7 road Premiership matches have gone over this 2.5 total. The Cherries have allowed 19 goals on the road this season. That's tied for second most in the Premiership. They've also managed to score 11 times on the road in 7 matches, which is no small feat. So we like that. Man U at home in the Premiership in 7 matches have kept just 1 clean sheet. If you want to go BTTS here, you absolutely could. Like, we've been burned lately in some BTTS situations where the game goes over anyway, and this could be 3-0 Man U. Like that, that's not out of the question. But I do like the BTTS here as well, right? We got Bournemouth allowing 19 and 7 on the road. We got Man U only keeping 1 clean sheet. We've got Man U, Beltway Ben, their last 13 matches in all competitions, 3 total goals or more in 10 of those 13. Man U matches at home average 2.86 goals per game. Lately, they've been finding the net a little bit more, especially against leaky teams like Wolves. I believe they can score 2 or 3 goals themselves against our Cherries today. So that's where we are on this match. You look at Bournemouth, they've kept only 1 clean sheet on the road. They average 1.5 expected goals per match on the road. And then Bruno, they're kind of running their attack through him. He sees a ton of the ball. He can finish. He can create for others. He has a goal or an assist in 5 of his last 8 Premiership matches. And I think he will find sufficient space and width to be an attacking thrust in this game. I like him at home. I like him in this spot. And I like him against a Bournemouth team that really tries to beat you on the counter and is willing to play balls out footy on the road, much more so than how they play at home. So let's get an entertaining one while we're on the radio today, Beltway Ben.
Yeah, I'm all for that. For sure. We will go to the NBA for second down. Like I said, I like Anthony Davis. Oh, and it didn't. Is it second down? Is it update? Is it there? There we go. Anthony Davis plus 118, 25 plus points. 3 of first 4 before injury this year. He cleared this number. Now, 2 of 6 since returning. He hasn't been as aggressive looking to score. He's been on minutes restrictions. And we always are risking something when we take Anthony Davis because he's left more games with injury than anybody in the NBA over the last 8 years. It's just a fact. It's unfortunate. But he does get a matchup tonight with the Utah Jazz, who are allowing 127.6 points per game over their last 5. That is the most in the NBA by a large margin. They've also struggled all year. I talk about trends. When I attack trends, it has to be something that is happening a lot of late and is consistent the whole season, or somebody goes down with injury, and that's the point. Like with run defenses, when you have a guy like Jalen Carter go down, something like that. But in the NBA, if they do have a Kawhi in his prime defender go down, that's going to impact that. The Jazz have never had that, and the Jazz have just really, really struggled defensively all year. We look at bigs, what they've done against them, because sometimes it's just guards that are feasting. Bigs, Chet, 25 points. Noah Clowney, 29 a few games ago. Şengün, back-to-back games, he had 31 and 27. These are good comparisons for what Anthony Davis should be able to do. When you look at the Mavericks, like Cooper Flagg's got it going as the year's gone on, but they need more scoring from Anthony Davis. They played good basketball when he's been on the court. They've won 3 of their last 4. They're trying to really get things going here. I would expect that with Anthony Davis in this matchup, and I think it's going to be a large reason for him going off. He also had 24 in his last game, or 2 games ago, so he finished just under this. I think it's going to be relatively tight. Like, Utah can score and try to keep up, and Dallas, even though they've won 3 of their last 4, like, they're still not a top 5 team or a top 10 team in the NBA. I think Utah will play fast and try to score and keep up with Dallas here, as they always have to, as bad as their defense is. So give me Anthony Davis 25 plus points, and we're getting a plus money, plus 118.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to be on the Monday Night Football from here on out. Third down, Kenneth Gainwell, 5 or more receptions, plus 178. 28 of the last 30 passes thrown to running backs against the Miami Dolphins have resulted in a reception. Anthony Weaver's done a really good job with that defense. They've allowed 17 points or less in 5 of the last 6. They've kind of sold out after they traded Jalen Phillips, one of their premier pass rushers at the deadline, to take away big plays and scheme you up. And Aaron Rodgers, outside of last week against the Ravens, doesn't want to hit 3 balls anyway. He wants to take layups. And Gainwell, when it appears to be a running down, and then them throwing the ball to him. Look, now, any Gainwell or Warren, there's always some trepidation there because they're kind of interchangeable. But lately, you go back the last 6 weeks, the target share has been going heavier to Gainwell. Warren got fewer targets last week, got more yards because he took a screen pass 40 yards to the house. But Gainwell's getting more targets, right? And Gainwell has 6 or more receptions in 3 of the last 4 games. It's going to be bitterly cold. Aaron Rodgers doesn't like holding on to the ball in the best of times. And Gainwell's going to be an interesting matchup out in space against the Dolphins team that I think will be playing back even against Pittsburgh some and conceding some of the underneath stuff. I thought about pairing this with yardage. I thought about playing it a bunch of different ways. And there are some concerns that sometimes if you get in enough 2-minute situations that skews a little bit to Warren. But ultimately, I just drilled down on who does Aaron Rodgers really trust? Because Aaron Rodgers is going to do whatever he wants to do. The offense runs through him. He's going to put it wherever he wants to put it. He's the point guard with complete autonomy. And he's got a high success rate throwing the ball to this cat. And I think Miami's going to be willing to live with some of the underneath stuff. And for plus 178 for him to do something he's done 3 of the last 4 and has done, previous as well. I like it.
Yeah, we'll stick in this game here, and we're going to play 2 different things. A lot of times when I like a wide receiver, I usually like his receptions too. We're taking Jalen Waddle down to 60+ receiving yards, minus 130. The number 61.5 in most spots. I just don't want to get caught on the hook because we've had that happen multiple times. So we're going to play Jalen Waddle, 60+ receiving yards, and I said receptions as well. We're going to play his regular receptions line, over 4.5 receptions at minus 125. Now, he's not going over this in 2 of his last 3, either yardage or receptions. But before that, he was really starting to get going. And we saw it once Tyreek Hill went down with the injury. He was immediately the focal point of the offense, and they were throwing him the football a bunch when Achane wasn't touching it. And I do think Achane's going to get off a little bit tonight. We'll get to that more in overtime. But I think in this spot, when they're throwing the football, it's going to have to be Jalen Waddle. You're facing a Steelers team, wide receivers in the last 6 weeks, 160 yards against. And when you look at this wide receiver room, is Malik Washington going to take some of that? He has a few explosives in him. They try to get him some screens. Outside of that, Jalen Warren's Jalen Waddle is a true wide receiver 1. We've seen it through his career. And sometimes when you have Tyreek Hill, that offsets that because it's a guy that's going to demand 7 to 10 targets per game. Here with Waddle, since Hill's been out, we know Tua has loved throwing him the football. He's got 7+ targets in 5 straight weeks, and almost all of them since Tyreek Hill's been out. This is a good spot for him against the Steelers passing defense, who I talked about earlier has struggled. They've also struggled to get to the quarterback. And the one thing that scares me here is the weather, right? Tua in the cold has sucked. But that being said, he's going to have to be going to his best guy quickly, early, and often, and get it to him as much as he can, and let Jalen Waddle show up in this spot. Now, Jalen Waddle in the past has dealt with injuries as the year's gone on. He appears to be fully healthy right now. He feels good and he looks good on the field. When you have Waller out there, it might take a few targets away, but it also might make things a little bit easier for Waddle running routes and not getting as much attention because you got to stop a different guy in Waller. So give me Jalen Waddle over 4.5 receptions at minus 125, and we'll also take him for 60+ receiving yards, minus 130.
Excellent. 4th and long. Let's stay in the long reception markets, which have been good to us lately. And let's play around with an alt here. Darren Waller to have a reception of 20 yards or more, plus 210 over at Bet365. He's been back for 4 weeks now from the long-term injury absence. And remember, he was shot out of a cannon early in the year before he got hurt. He's got a reception of 34 yards or more in 2 of those 4 games. I like the matchups here. Do they put Ramsey on him? Okay, does Ramsey try to beat him up at the line and he gets through and now he's wide open to take a 5-yard pass, 20 yards? And that's the kind of thing I'm looking at here. This is not a great tackling Steelers team. We've seen teams run all over them all year long, in part because the tackling at the 2nd and 3rd level sucks. The screen game is an extension of the run game, and a lot of what Waller does here is in the screen game. He is also averaging, though, like 12 yards per target. So that he catches the ball 12 yards downfield, runs over one guy. That's it. Like, that's what I'm looking at. Can that happen once in this game to get me 2-1 plus 210 on a 20-yard reception? Pittsburgh's had 5 games this year where they've allowed a reception of 20 yards or more to a tight end. And then they've had another one where there was a 19, an 18, and a 17. So that's in the range over half of their games. Cold night, Tua, get it out quickly. He's going to like this matchup. He's a big dude, big target size, right? He's got huge catch radius, wingspan differential, as my man Bobby DePaul would talk about. And so I think he gets fed a little bit here. And do I think he could break one tackle and get us 20 yards on a reception? I do. Tua is also the kind of cat on like 3rd and 20 or 3rd and 25 will just throw the ball 8 yards to somebody and see what they can do. So I'm looking at those sort of opportunities as well for a tight end who, look, he came out of retirement, right? Like, he didn't come out of retirement not to play. I think he gets some opportunities here against the defense that hasn't been great.
Yeah, we're going to stick in the longest area. We're just going to go with a running back prop. We're going to go with Devon Achane. Of course, we don't have it spelled right, but we do like Devon Achane. His longest rush, over 17.5 yards, a minus 110. He's gone over this in 8 of his last 10 games, and not a lot. I like to attack something that's been consistently happening that much because at some point it's due to break. But I don't know that the Steelers defense is that. They've allowed running backs over this regularly, and a lot of it has been speed backs. That's what's been able to beat them, and Devon Achane is just that. I know he dealt with the injury last week, only had 8 or 9 carries before being pulled in that Jets game, but he said if it was absolutely needed, he would have been able to return. So I think he feels good. They're having him play in this game. Their playoff hopes are still alive. And the recipe to beating the Steelers team should be letting Devon Achane make plays in the run game. We've seen it before. In some of their games this year, we've seen it against the Steelers. The Bills just dominated them on the ground. We heard TJ Watt come out after the game and just straight up say, I've never seen a team run the same play so many damn times and we haven't been able to stop it. Now, some of that now makes you want to put a point of emphasis on stopping the run, and they did that a little bit with Derrick Henry. He was still able to get going, but the Ravens kind of force-fed him. I don't know that they're going to be able to take away a speed back in Achane with the way that he cuts and the way that he can kind of make some guys miss and get out in open field. 17.5 is just too low of a number for me for a guy that I said has cleared in 8 of his last 10. Like, that's a lot, and that's a lot of games in a row. As long as he stays healthy in this one, he shouldn't have an issue making at least one explosive at some point.
I mean, some of it is probably the lighting, but dude, how pasty white do I look? Like, oh my God, I look so pasty. If I was vain enough to get in a tanning bed, I wouldn't, but there ain't no way in hell if I got the time or inclination to get in a tanning bed. All right, can I do my Achane overtime here and make that the first overtime since you just talked about Achane? Is that going to mess you up?
No, you can do that.
All right, so let's go to overtime and let's continue on that Achane train. I like Achane to have 80 yards on the ground and an anytime touchdown here at plus 200. Ben talked about that Buffalo game. I went back, watched the film from that Buffalo game, watched James Cook's runs, and ran the numbers at True Media. James Cook just running inside zone and outside zone alone got over this 80-yard total easy with just those plays. That's Achane's bread and butter. That's the stuff that gets called for Achane more than Gordon, and I think he can get 80 here just on inside zone and outside zone alone. He's got 90 yards rushing in 4 straight games. That includes the hip injury, which I don't think he was hurt so much in that game as the game was over at halftime and Miami had already won, so they could put him on ice for this Monday night game where everybody thinks they're a bunch of punks and everybody thinks they can't play in the cold and everybody thinks, probably for good reason, that they can't beat winning teams. But how do you do that? Well, you keep the main thing, and you feed this guy. 21 carries in 3 of his last 4 games. Pittsburgh's 28th in run defense EPA, 24th in run defense success rate. And I do think he gets a couple explosives here. I don't know that there's a ton of touchdowns in this game, but I like his odds to get one as much as anybody on that field. Probably, well, definitely more than anybody on that field. Tua's not keeping it on a keeper. This guy could score in the pass game, in the run game. from goal to go situations and from outside the red zone. So I don't know if the Dolphins have more than 2 offensive touchdowns in this game. They might not even have to, but I do like his odds of being featured and getting one. And then our other play in overtime, give me the Steelers on the money line and under 42.5. Parlayed together, plus 210. Look, Miami's lost 13 straight times when the forecast is under 40 degrees. It's way under 40 tonight. Miami's lost 13 times on the road against winning teams. We can argue about how much of a winning team Pittsburgh is at 7-6, but Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. I would say they're the very definition of a winning team. The Pittsburgh Steelers have won 22 in a row on Monday Night Football at home. With their season on the line and the Ravens winning yesterday, I suspect, even without Mr. Watt, that Tomlin has them ready to play. Their offense looked better than it has all season against the Ravens. And yes, this is a good Miami defense lately, but I just don't think Miami scores a lot of points here. Miami in the cold, you can go and look at their last 10 games in under 40 degrees. They're never getting to 40 points. We need 43 points to lose here. I don't think Rodgers gets explosives. I think it's a very conservative approach from Arthur Smith. I think they trust Boswell kicking in the cold. And to me, the Steelers are a dead under team. Miami's under in 5 of their last 6. Those games have gone under by 3.5, 18, 7.5, 13.5, and just a half point. Both want to run the ball. Miami's allowing just 15.2 points per game over the last 6 games. And McDaniels is 4-15 in his career against winning teams. So I think Pittsburgh finds a way to win this game. You look at the cold weather games yesterday. Yeah, the Commanders, Giants got batty and went over. But pretty much everything else went under. And this, to me, is a dead under game. If you do study those last 13 Miami road games under 40 degrees, you're going to see, well, wow, Jason, 9 of those went over. What do you think about that? I think those games went over because Miami's given up on average over 30 points per game in those contests. They can't score on offense in the cold, but they've wilted totally on defense. Do I think Pittsburgh's scoring 30 points tonight? Not unless Tua throws a couple pick sixes. No, I don't. So Steelers money line under 42.5 plus 210.
Yeah, I got 2 plays. We have 2 parlays that we will ultimately end up going with. We'll start here. Just the one plus 100 that we usually try to get in. Devon Achane, 60-plus rushing yards. Jalen Waddle, 40-plus receiving yards. DK Metcalf, 3-plus receptions, which you can get at plus 112. By the way, Meatball and Jason's Achane play. I do like Achane a lot tonight in this spot. And I think those are really good odds for 2 things that have happened pretty regularly. But we're going to take him for 60-plus here. We bring it down a little bit. I don't see any issue there. Jason talked about the cold and their passing struggles. I do think there's going to be one guy who has the breakout game in the passing game, and it'll be Jalen Waddle. But outside of that, I don't see much else going on. So I think it'll be Tua, a heavy dose of throwing that way, and they're going to be running the football with Achane a lot, trying to let him make some plays and get some explosives against a bad run defense. Jalen Waddle, 40-plus. This is the guy that I came to a bunch when looking at this game. I think it's going to be a really, really big game from Jalen Waddle. I think when you have a guy in Waller that can make defenses try to beat him and stop him, it opens things up for Waddle. And 40-plus receiving yards is something that he's gone over regularly all season long. DK Metcalf for 3-plus receptions. Listen, as the year's going on, like last week was finally that, DK, we paid you a lot of money. We traded for you. We gave up a lot. We need you to make plays, and we saw it last week. I think there's going to be more of that. Aaron Rodgers knows the success that should be happening when he throws the ball to Metcalf here, and we saw it just there. So give me DK 3-plus receptions, plus 112. And then the one plus 200, I think it's plus 277 that we got this at. Jalen Waddle, 80-plus receiving yards, 5-plus receptions, and Freiermuth, 10-plus receiving yards, which you can get at plus 277. Waddle's been over this. Like when he goes over his regular number, it's usually that he's getting up to 80. I was considering taking 100, but ultimately I fell on 80 because there's been a number of games this year where he's finished with 83, 86, in the 90s and didn't ultimately get to 100. So we're just going to keep it at 80 plus, 5 receptions. If he goes for 80 yards, it's going to be because there's a heavy dose of targets, a bunch of looks his way, and he's catching the football. 5 receptions. If he's going for 80 plus yards, he's going over his reception number, which he's done in all of those games. And then Freiermuth, 10 plus receiving yards. I think he's going to have a 12 or longer catch, and then he's going to have another one in there we'll see how the game goes. I think they'll have him on the football field a little bit more. You can't pay a guy the way they are and then just keep him on the sideline. I mean, some teams do it, but Freiermuth has to be more involved. Their passing offense is pretty solid when he's been on the field, and when they target him, it's just he's kind of been a ghost. They don't put him on the field. They keep him on the sideline and only bring him out there occasionally. So I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Pat Freiermuth tonight, plus 277 on this parlay.
Excellent. Yeah, I was trying to get on True Media here. That's being a little janky. I just wanted to look something up real quick. It seems to me anecdotally that Miami and Pittsburgh are two of the slowest teams in the NFL. And I'm looking now, wall clock time per play. 42.6, Miami, second most in the NFL. Pittsburgh, 41.7, tied for sixth most in the NFL. So what does that mean? When you're using all that time per play and you're running it a lot, and so it's not stopping between plays, that lends itself to unders. In the bitter cold, I think they want to keep people moving, keep those offensive linemen moving. So just one more thing to think about in terms of the under tonight. That's our show. Beltway Ben, as always, please let the people know what we've been up to here as we show our work and keep score. There you go. That's everything we've done at the bottom since May 21st and how yesterday went. And we're already fired up for tomorrow's show. I'm guessing around noon tomorrow, back to normal?
Yep.
I may have to talk to you a little bit about that, though, because I think Chloe's back from college and she's teaching all week. And her schedule, I don't know, it's 12 to 5 today. I'm not sure about the rest of the week. I got to get it from her. But because I'm the one who's got to get her there.
Right.
So anyway, we'll talk about that. But the plan is noon tomorrow, and probably noon the rest of the week, unless that has to change. Again, hit us up. Want to bet with us at gmail.com. Questions, comments, feedback, concern, sponsorship opportunities, whatever. We're here. We will respond quickly. We appreciate any and everyone who has tuned us in on the Apple, on the Spotify, on the YouTube, Twitter. We sincerely appreciate it. And again, hit us up if we can be of assistance. Beltway Ben, thank you as always for all of your work behind the scenes and on camera. And good luck to everybody tonight. You want to bet, we want to bet. Thank you for wanting to bet with us.